How to wipe and restore your Windows PC, a guide to resetting your PC to factory fresh state. I'm Hewie Poplock. Back up important files. Copy files to an external storage and use cloud storage for backup. Backing up important files to an external device like a hard drive, a flash drive, or cloud storage protects your data from loss if your main computer fails. First, get a backup drive with enough capacity and connect it to your computer. Use your operating system's tools or backup software to select and copy the files you want to preserve. Schedule regular, recurring backups and store the drive somewhere safe when not in use. Occasionally restore files from the backup to verify it works. Following this backup process ensures you have copies of valuable files and can restore them if anything happens to your computer's original data. Make a habit of periodic backups, including new and changed files for full protection. Cloud services like Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive provide easy automated backup of your important PC files off-site over the internet. Simply sign up for cloud service, install their app on your computer, select your folders to continuously back up, and the service will automatically upload new and changed files online. Cloud backup allows access to your files from anywhere, shared file access, version history, and protection if your local PC fails. Check that files are uploading correctly. Set a backup schedule through the installed app and access your cloud files from any device by logging into your account online. Cloud backup combined with local external hard drive backups provides a comprehensive protection strategy for your critical PC data. Reset Windows. Go to Settings, System, Recovery, reset this PC. Select Get Started. Choose to keep no files. Clean the hard drives. Use a disk utility like dban. Overwrite the entire hard drive with zeros. Wipe all data, including Windows installation. Here are some good options for apps to securely wipe a PC hard drive. dban, which is Derek's Boot and Nuke, is free wiping utility that boots from a USB and completely erases a hard drive by overwriting data with random data. Eraser is a free open source tool that overwrites data to make sure it's unrecoverable. It allows targeted erasing of only certain files or a full drive wipe. HDD Erase, bootable ISO that provides multiple wipe options, including government standards like DoD 5220.22m for secure data destruction. The key when securely erasing a hard drive is to use multiple overwrite passes and verify the wipe to ensure no original data can be recovered. Be sure to research the proper procedure for your needs. Reinstalling Windows. Boot from the Windows Install USB drive. Install fresh copy of Windows on wiped hard drive, and then follow a clean install steps to set up a new user account. Create Windows install. To create an installable copy of Windows, you can use the Media Creation tool for Windows 10 or Windows 11 from Microsoft. Uninstall manufacturer's bloatware. Remove unnecessary pre-installed apps. uninstall bloatware from the PC, and get rid of apps you don't need. Update Windows and drivers. Install the latest Windows updates. Visit manufacturer's website for driver updates. And then remove personal information from the BIOS. Enter BIOS setup utility, erase saved profile information, and disable all profiles. This is part of a series, How to Dispose of Your Old Tech Responsibly. I'm Hewie Poplock. There are other videos in this series, and they're listed on your screen. This has been How to Wipe and Restore Your Windows PC. It's a guide to resetting your PC to factory fresh state. I'm Hewie Poplock.
It is October of 2023, and as we move into November, we're going to have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, and most of the electronics sold will be sold in these 2 or 3 months. So I've decided to make 3 videos: purchase considerations for a PC, purchase considerations of a Chromebook, and purchase considerations for your Apple device. And that is this video, purchase considerations for your Apple device. I'll put the link down below for the other 2 that have already been made. I'm Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we make videos to help seniors understand technology and help with their health. Everyone on staff at Tech for Senior is a volunteer, so we sure appreciate that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. So there are 3 things that you need to know before purchasing your Apple device. The first is Apple makes all their own software and hardware. So unlike in the PC market where you might have ASUS, ℙ𝕝𝕝𝕅, Dell, in the Apple world, only Apple makes and sells their hardware and software. So you will be buying your Apple device from an Apple store. The second thing you need to know is that unlike PCs and other makers that have a variety of chips, you've probably heard about i3, i5, i7, i9, Apple makes their own chip. And it's real easy to remember. It's M1, M2, and M3. And yes, M1 was the first, and M3 is the latest. So very simple, M1, M2, M3. One of the things you have to be careful about is that was not always the case. And in the past, Intel has made some chips for the Apple devices. Now, all the modern lineup that they have now all has their modern chips in it. So if you are purchasing an older device, maybe a refurbished device, please make sure that it does not have one of the Intel chips in it, because this is certainly going to be a problem as we move forward with the Apple software. So the third thing you need to know about Apple devices is that the Apple software really doesn't like to play with other software. So if you are going to purchase an Apple device, it's really important that you, for best results, that you stick within the Apple group of devices. So let's look at the most popular Apple device, and that, of course, is the iPhone. Now, if you live in the United States, about 67% of all new phones last month were sold were iPhones. And I read an article the other day that said, is there a future for Android? Because the sales of iPhone goes up steadily. And whatever the reason, it's not a criticism, Americans just love their iPhones. Now, if you look at other parts of the world, such as Europe, Southeast Asia, India, in those countries, about a third of the sales of new phones are iPhones. But for some, it's not a criticism, but for some reason in the United States, Americans love iPhones, which means when we're talking and giving seminars, we need to know that roughly 2/3 of the audience is going to have an iPhone. So yes, they are very popular. And that leads me into the first device that you might want to add to your iPhone, and that is an iPad. Now, iPads have been around for a very long time. They're sold worldwide. They're easily configurable. They're sold for under $1,000, and they're great. And they will actually provide most of the computer needs for most people. Now you're going to say, hey, it's a tablet. I don't want a tablet. I want something with a keyboard. Well, you can add a keyboard to an iPad, click it in, and away you go. There's third parties that make those. Also, if you want a bigger monitor, you can plug a big monitor into your iPad. So I think that if you're looking for another device other than your phone, I think you should consider an iPad as your first choice. Now, you may also want to consider another device made by Apple called the Mac Mini. Now, in the prior two videos that I made, we talked about the NUC, N-U-C PC, which again is a device in which you plug peripherals into. When we did the Chromebook video, we talked about Chrome boxes. Again, the same idea. Both those two devices, not that popular, but the Mac Mini is the same idea. It is a box in which the Mac software runs. You can configure it to different processors and speed and RAM, etc. And you can plug all your own peripheral devices into it. These sell for starting under $800, so you can get a great machine for under $1,000 with all the hardware and software. I have a good friend, Jim Gould, who has a very popular show called The Button Show on Sunday with his wife, Chris, and he has a studio and runs all his production studio broadcasting equipment on a Mac Mini. So they are great machines. And again, it is easy to get into the Apple environment for under $1,000 because you're going to add your own monitor, keyboards, and a mouse to this as you just plug it into the device. Now, you may be considering purchasing an Apple laptop. And for this, you have basically two choices. You have a MacBook Air, which starts at about $1,000 and is customizable to some degree. And you have a MacBook Pro, which starts at around $1,300 US and is very customizable. So you have these two machines. So what's the difference and which one should you choose? Well, a MacBook Air, I'm not going to say is an entry-level machine, but it would be more for a student. It is somewhat customizable. The MacBook Pro is an amazing machine. It's a little more money and starts around $1,300, but is very customizable, again, depending on how much RAM, the size of the screen, and all the things that you want to incorporate in that. I'm not going to go into all the specifics of that because that's on the Apple website and you can go there and look at the pricing. However, you should really understand the difference between these two machines. And I have a personal preference for you. So here's my tip. This summer, I was tasked with buying my daughter an Apple laptop. I did a lot of research on this and eventually chose to buy her the MacBook Pro. She's in the education field and really enjoys it and really enjoys her computer. When I was researching the two, I went to Best Buy and I actually had both in my hand. I had the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, and I actually held them, one in my right hand and one in my left hand. And it was quite obvious that the MacBook Pro was a different machine. It was much heavier. You could feel that it was just a quality build as compared to the MacBook Air. So these are very different machines. Also, if you upgrade the MacBook Air to the same specifications that you have with the MacBook Pro, then you're pretty darn close to the MacBook Pro pricing. Now, when I asked my daughter if she had a choice, she said she'd heard a lot of problems at their school with the MacBook Airs, particularly with the battery capacity. I said, "How are you doing?" She said, "Great." I said, "Well, how's the battery working out for your MacBook Pro?" She says, "I use it all week long and hardly ever have to charge it." Now, her husband at the same time bought a MacBook Air, and he has yet to get a whole day through without charging it. So he's very unhappy with it. So these machines are quite different. Take them, look at them, feel them. If you're going to budget out 5 to 7 years for this purchase, both machines are excellent machines and are going to last you for a very long time. I think if you budget out for 5 to 7 years, there's very little difference in price So I would encourage you to look at the MacBook Pro. I think you're going to be more happy. It's more of a versatile machine, and certainly the battery life is much better. For those of you wanting a standalone computer, of course, there is the iMac. These start at around $1,300 in the United States and go up depending on how you configure them. They're great machines. I think they're excellent value. They come with a great camera, microphone, and speakers. There are plenty of apps that work with it, and the machines are very versatile. These all work well with your iPhone, and I think are an excellent product. So you'll want to round out your Apple experience with an Apple Watch, and I'll put the link below for some of the videos I've made about Apple Watches. So in summary, Apple makes great equipment, they have great software, and enormous success. Yes, they are more expensive, but I think you're getting good quality and longevity in your purchase. The only advice I can give you is if you want to make sure that all these devices work well, try to stay within the Apple line of devices, and you'll find that the communication and how they all communicate and work together will be much better for you.
In the past, computers made all sorts of mechanical and electronic noises as a normal part of how they worked. But there are some noises a modern computer should never make. If you hear any of these, pay attention. A special thanks to Sidney Butler of How to Geek for his excellent article on this topic. You'll find his article at the link listed. Whine. Sometimes benign, sometimes not. A high-pitched whine can be the equivalent of your computer saying, "I'm stressed out." Usually, this is a symptom of coil whine, which happens when electrical components vibrate under load. Most often it's benign, but it can indicate poor quality components that may give out sooner than expected. If you hear coil whine only under high stress, such as video recording, it's probably nothing to worry about. And if you hear it while gaming, you probably need to turn on VSync or another form of frame rate limiter to prevent your computer from rendering too many frames. However, if you hear persistent coil whine from a component, it's probably worth exchanging it under warranty or having it checked out by a professional. Buzzing fans. They're on their way out. The soothing white noise of computer fans is usually a good sign. It means your system is keeping its cool. However, when that soothing noise becomes a buzzing drone, you got a problem. This is often due to dust buildup on the fan blades or worn-out bearings, making them less effective and more audible. Get yourself a can of compressed air and give your fans a good cleaning, and if that doesn't work, they're usually not that expensive to replace. If the fans on your GPU or CPU cooler are making sickly mechanical noises, it can be a little more tedious to repair or replace them. But if they stop working, you'll wish you had taken care of the problem sooner. Ticking fans. They're smacking something besides air. If your fan is ticking like a metronome, it's not getting ready to drop a sick beat. It could indicate that the fan blades are hitting something, like a wire. If not fixed, your fan could eventually fail, leaving your components without adequate cooling. In some instances, a fan may end up slicing open a wire, which could cause a short circuit or even a fire. Open up your machine and make sure there are no obstructions. Clicking hard drive. Back up your data immediately. If you have a computer with no mechanical hard drives and only solid-state drives, it won't be clicking from the drive because there are no moving parts. If you hear clicking, it's likely an issue with the fans. But if you have a mechanical hard drive and you hear it, you should be concerned. A clicking sound coming from your hard drive is like the death knell of a sinking ship. It's a clear indicator that your hard drive is failing. Make sure to back up your data immediately and replace the hard drive immediately. It's just a matter of time before the entire thing gives out, taking your data with it. Creaks, snaps, and pops, especially in laptops. If you hear these sounds, particularly in a laptop, they could be due to thermal expansion and contraction of internal parts. The occasional groan or creak is one thing, especially if your computer or monitor is heating up in a cold room or vice versa, cooling off at the end of a gaming session or such. While some level of these noises is normal, any significant change should cause concern. It might be due to structural damage or weakening components, especially if the protesting computer is a laptop. Loud pops, creaks, or snapping noises when you operate the screen hinge is a big warning sign, and this is a common point of laptop failure. If the hinge starts making a racket, do your best to minimize the number of times you open and close the lid. It's best to let a pro check out the machine. Whistling or a sizzling sound. Something is cooking. Whistles and sizzles are particularly dangerous. A faint coil whine is one thing, but if your computer starts making a distinct high-pitched whistling sound, like there's a tiny kettle hidden away inside somewhere, it's time for immediate action. The same goes for any sort of sizzling sound. If your laptop battery or your desktop's power supply starts making these noises, switch off the device and disconnect it from the electrical outlet immediately. These sounds often indicate an electrical issue that could result in a fire. Contact the manufacturer or a professional service center for an immediate inspection. When in doubt, get the laptop out of your office or residence and place it in a fireproof container. Our computers usually tell us when they're not feeling well. These noises are your first warning that it's time to look under the hood before a minor issue becomes a major meltdown. A little proactive care can go a long way in avoiding system failures and potential data loss. So the next time your computer starts to make its own music, don't just tune it out. It might be trying to tell you something important. Stay safe, stay secure, and the only noise you should hear is your fingers on the keyboard. It means you're being productive. I'll see you again soon.